More than 4,000 smart card readers destroyed as fire gulls INEC office in Oka, Anambra State.
Bayelsa Council of Traditional Rulers supports fight against corruption as APC presidential campaign train arrives in Yenagoa.
EFCC arraigns former Secretary to Government of the Federation and 5 others over alleged fraud.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we are still counting down to the 2019 polls. 3 days to go.
All right, it's actually some hours away from 3 days to the D-Day, or should I say presidential or P-Day. And of course, key players in the electioneering process are making last-minute preparations to ensure smooth conduct of the exercise.
And as a deadline for political campaigns for the presidential and national Assembly elections looms, the major contenders in the race have intensified their campaigns to woo voters to elect them come Saturday, the 16th of February.
And as the political parties and candidates engage in their usual business, of course we know what that is, the electoral management body, election observers and monitors, both local and international, continue to put finishing touches for the success of their assignments.
But one disturbing trend in the last few days, with the potential also to impact negatively on the affected locations, is the spate of fire incidents in some INEC offices in some states.
And indeed, just yesterday, and of course, as we heard in the headline news, 2 containers housing smart card readers for the elections in INEC office in Oka, that's in Anambra State, was scattered by fire, and over 4,500 smart card readers were also reported to have been destroyed.
And if you also recall, Claire, just before then, the INEC office in Kwampan local government area of Plateau State, plus another also in Abia State, were equally razed. All
right, now, worried, by these developments, the acting IGP had some days ago ordered watertight security around INEC facilities, and that's, of course, across the country ahead of Saturday polls.
All right, just as we'll be, of course, taking a look as to whether or not arson has become the new rigging technique, we shall, of course, have our various guests in the studios with us, as well as at remote locations, to discuss the issues pertaining to the forthcoming elections.
And Kingsley, if you recall, we had one of the editions of Good Morning Nigeria where the Minister of Information and Culture and other stakeholders, came here to, of course, alert on some, intended plans by some people to, of course, rig or disrupt the electoral process.
Well, yeah, I recall that program, but there were all kinds of allegations on that occasion.
Indeed. Yes. All right. So the question is, who are those behind these acts? What are they out to achieve? Now, is it part of the desperation or planned by some politicians to scatter the process, has been alleged? What kind of security do we need to protect the electoral materials, both sensitive and non-sensitive? Are Nigerians fully educated on the voting process? So many questions that we will, of course, be looking for answers on today's edition of the program. It's Good Morning Nigeria, and it's happening live here on the network service of the NTA, and we are reaching you from Abuja. I am Claire Adelabu Abdul Razak.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I join my colleague Claire and also welcoming you to this edition of the program, in the course of which we shall bring you our regular complimentary segments. This is a newspaper review, business, sports, foreign, and others. But in the meantime, let's take the news highlights by Comfort Amodu. Hi, Comfort. Good morning.
Good morning, Kingsley and Claire. Good to see you. Good morning, Nigeria. Fire has gutted 2 containers loaded with smart card readers meant for use in the 2019 general elections at the INEC headquarters, Oka, Anambra State.
I don't have the details of how it started, but all I can report is that there's been a fire incident in our premises, and the fire involved our storage facility that is housing some of the most sensitive equipment that we are going to use for the elections.
The APC presidential candidate, Muhammadu Buhari, has promised to maintain sanity among those occupying public offices. He made the promise during the APC campaign in Yenagoa, the Bayelsa state capital. President Buhari explained that nation building is the responsibility of all citizens.
We can conveniently tell you, Mr. President, that the APC is the stronger party in Bayelsa State. What Bayelsans are struggling to do now is to see what quantum of contribution are we going to make in your re-election. And Your Excellency, the only request we want is for a level playing ground to be provided for Bayelsans to show you that they love you.
The previous government mentioned on their own that they spent 16 billion American dollars for power. But you are better witnesses than myself. Where is the power? Where is the money? We will follow them. Eventually, God willing, we will catch them and we will get our money back.
And Bayelsa State Council of Traditional Rulers has thrown its weight behind the genuine efforts by President Muhammadu Buhari to restore sanity in governance, especially through the fight against corruption. The president also engaged monarchs in Rivers State, where he restated his commitment to peaceful and credible polls.
Watched your progress over the years. Your program on corruption has brought Nigeria to the limelight in the world community, and we're very proud of you.
This leadership, I assure you, nobody will be allowed to intimidate people. Nobody will snatch boxes and get away with it. And we will make sure that votes count. The law enforcement agencies will be asked to make sure Nigerians are respected, that the elections are free and fair.
The People's Democratic Party presidential standard bearer for the February 16th election, Atiku Abubakar, has assured the electorate that if voted into power, he will deliver on his promise for a better Nigeria. Atiku gave the assurance at a PDP rally held in Lagos.
When I promise something, I will do it.
Meanwhile, election observers and voters have been assured of their safety as each polling unit will be manned by 3 unarmed security personnel. The acting Inspector General Police, Mohammed Adamu, gave the assurance during a meeting of INEC security agencies and election observers in Abuja.
All security personnel posted on this duty, election duty, should strictly enforce the non-movement restriction from 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening on voting days.
There are some documents and instruments that we are going to make available to you. The manual for election guidelines and regulations, and then for us in the commission, the kit, complete compendium of information.
And the Nigerian Air Force has commenced the airlift of electoral materials for the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, across the country for the conduct of the 2019 general elections. A statement by the Director of Public Relations and Information, Air Commodore Ibukunle Daramola, indicates that the airlift exercise include days and night missions. During missions, which both sensitive and non-sensitive electoral materials were conveyed in batches with NAF C-130 Hercules aircraft from Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, to various airports across the country. The materials were duly delivered by the C-3130H airlift crew to INEC teams, Central Bank of Nigeria officials, as well as security personnel waiting at the various airports. Recall that the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, during his meeting with air officers commanding and NAF field commanders, had expressed the readiness of the force to avail INEC its transport aircraft to enable expeditious movement of electoral materials as done in the past. It is pertinent to state that the transport aircraft are deployed solely to provide airlift support to meet INEC's logistics requirements in fulfillment of Nigerian Air Force constitutional role of providing military aid to civil authority. And now the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has rearranged former Secretary to Government of the Federation, Babachir David Lowell, along with his son and 4 others before a Federal Capital Territory High Court on a 10-count charge bordering on conspiracy and fraud.
10 counts in all, but the defendants are not involved. Is in all the 10. You have some involved in 4, some in 6.
And that's the news for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues shortly with Claire and Kinsley after this break.
Unemployment, notably youth unemployment, features strongly in our party's manifesto. We intend to attack the problem promptly through revival of agriculture.
The 30K is going a long way. Actually, I bought an acre of land for 60K like 2012, and presently I have a cassava farm and a yam farm.
Sunana Abubakar Haruna, ina tuki da kanan ina zuwa Kaduna, Niger, Ilori, Oyo, Lagos, Kogi, Abuja. Sakamakon mun samu canjin gwamnati, muna zuwa gurin muka tafi ba ma samun gosulan muke yin kwana 2 zuwa 3, zuma zuwa kwana 1. Sakamakon gyaran hanya da muka samu a yanzu muna zuwa a kwana 1. Na gode Allah da cewar hanyoyin da muke bi, akwai gurin da an canza complete hanya, an canza mana gaba daya, akwai gurin kuma da gyara, an gyara mana hanya, ko ba haka ba. Kuma muna godiya ga wannan gwamnati.
Manager people, make we make the right choice, yo. Make we vote for a man of integrity. Hey, so make we gather together and make this change. What my people of Nigeria, together we go carry Nigeria to the next level. Nigeria don't decide. Vote Baba Buhari. Baba Buhari, a man of integrity. Hey, vote Baba Buhari. And we no corrupt, we no go chop our money. Hey. Agriculture to the next level, fight corruption to the next level, roads to the next level, electricity to the next level, railway to the next level, empower to the next level, we got money. For good health we go. Oh, Baba Buhari, my people, oh, for the next level. ABC, next level. Naija people, make we all come out to vote Baba Buhari.
This message is from Buhari Next Level Group.
Sore throat, it's often caused by bacteria and viruses. feels like they're having a party. You need Strepsils. It soothes the pain, plus it fights the germs with 2 germ-killing actives. Double power in 1 lozenge. Bye-bye sore throat. Take Strepsils.
Mrs. Williams, where do all these young people go to every day?
Don't bother yourself about them. These young ones, they have their peculiar ways. Don't want to know.
Here comes one of them. Young man, you go in batches every day here. Where do you go to?
It's the N-Power training, ma.
And what's that?
The N-Power is an initiative of the federal government for young graduates and those interested in skill acquisition. After the training, the government empowers them to make sure that they understand their business and also train others.
Wow.
After the training, the government will also give them 30,000 naira for 2 years and also help them so that they can also train others.
Wow, it's interesting.
After my training, I hope I'll be able to own my own big fish farm and also train others.
Wow. That's wonderful.
It is.
And this government is really doing great.
I'm telling you.
I have to get my son to register for N-Power.
N-Power, a federal government initiative for job creation for the Nigerian youth. This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Getting around heartburn and indigestion can be tricky if you eat too much. Eat food that is too spicy or greasy, or lie down after eating. Heartburn and indigestion could always be around the corner. When they come, be prepared with Gaviscon Double Action. It works within 3 minutes and lasts up to 8 hours. Gaviscon Double Action. Many causes, one solution.
Welcome back. Let's join Kunle Adeye for business news.
The latest report by the National Bureau of Statistics shows that Nigeria's GDP in the fourth quarter of 2018 grew by 2.38% in real terms year on year. This implies an increase of 0.27% compared to the fourth quarter of 2017. The analysis further shows that the annual growth rate of the GDP in the year under review is 1.93%, which is an increase of 1.09% when compared to that of 2017. An economic analyst, Uzoma Obio, said the development is a reflection of government's efforts to keep the economy moving and called for the convergence of private and public sectors to sustain the growth trajectory.
The government needs to maintain status quo by ensuring that would continue this rise on our GDP at least before the end of the year. So if you ask me, it is very important on the basis of these statistics that the current administration stays and remains in power to ensure that this is sustained. It's a clear evidence of the fact that President Muhammadu Buhari has done well within the last 4 years.
In a related development, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, says seamless access to finance by micro, small and medium enterprises is key to driving sustainable growth as this segment of the society contributes to job creation, utilization of domestic resources, income generation and improvement of local technology.
Nigeria's quest for inclusive economic growth and development will be futile if we fail to adequately ease access to finance to micro, small and medium enterprises, which we know are vulnerable today, but remain the catalyst of economic growth in Nigeria.
Let's see Tuesday's trading on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. With business news, I'm Kunle Adeye.
Thank you very much, Kunle, for the updates on business. Next for us on Good Morning Nigeria is Newspaper Review.
right, of course, it's midweek's newspaper review, and Bayo is here. Bayo, good morning.
Good morning, Claire.
You're looking forward to Saturday?
Yes, the pressure, like pressure cooker in the kitchen. The atmosphere is tense, but it will come to pass. Good morning, Kinsley. Good morning, Nigeria.
By this time next week, we should.
Yes.
Hopefully, most, if not all, of the results.
And then to pick back again for the
gubernatorial
elections.
All right, let me take off from your pressure cooker angle, Kinsley, if you will. Daily Sun, has a headline: polls, tension builds up, and of course there are different follow-ups there. And then, of course, you see the picture story. That's the former secretary to the government of the Federation, Babachir Lawal, with his team, defense team, during his arraignment at the High Court of Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, yesterday. Okay, let's look at the trending stories at the bottom now. 272 million grass cutting scandal. Ex-SGF, Babachir Lawal, remanded in custody. Details of that you can find on pages 4 and 5. Now, more than 4,600 card readers, other voting materials raised in INEC Anambra office, page 40, and U.S. replies said, we are not supporting any candidate, and that's on page 39. Now, of course, there are other trending stories. Let me go a little just by the masthead there. Daily Sun, Supreme Court dashes APC's hope in Rivers. The writer there says, upholds High Court's ruling barring party from fielding candidates. And there's a message there, I'm sad over judgment. That's coming from the president. Let's quickly take a look at other stories. PDP sues APC INEC over foreigners' presence at President's rally, page 39. And ACF endorses Buhari as middle belt leaders back Olawekbo Hashimo, this on page 44.
All right, let's take a look at the Nigerian Tribune. Nigerian Tribune, just below the nameplate and straight down to the caption on the photograph. 4 Fiat killed during stampede at Buhari's rally in Rivers. That's the Nigerian Tribune. PDP planning to trigger panic ahead of polls, federal government alleges. And PDP sues APC and INEC over presence of Nigerian governors at Kano rally. That's on page 3 in greater detail. Now, the lead story has to do with the fire incident in Oka yesterday. It says 4,695 card readers burnt in Anambra. PDP raises alarm. And then election will hold as scheduled. INEC says that's with regard to the fire incident in Oka, and Air Force begins airlift of electoral materials. That story and others can be found in greater detail on page 4. All eyes on Nigeria. U.S. replies APC. That's page 2. And also Supreme Court dashes APC hope in Rivers. Page 12. There's continued charge against Onoren. NBA tells federal government. There are other stories from the Punch newspaper. Just below the, let me just take the headlines, Bio, and then you come in. Let's just take Punch accordingly. Punch from top to bottom. Economy grew by 1.93% in 2018, says NBS, that's National Bureau of Statistics. And fraud charges, Babachir Lawal and others remanded in EFCC custody. Probe $16 billion, $15 billion Obasanjo spent on power projects, says Buhari. An ex-president will make himself available for probe, says aide. That's on page 2. Lead story comes with a kicker, Ogun violence. Amosun kicks as APC threatens to punish him after polls. With a rider, ignore Ogun governor, vote APC candidates in all elections. Oshibajo tells voters. And then you have the photograph there showing the airlifting of electoral materials by men of the Nigerian Air Force. This has been done on behalf of the Independent National Electoral Commission. And then right there, below that, this one, Punch is reporting 14 die in stampede at Buhari's rally in Rivers. That's on page 7. Bio.
Well, talking about the pressure mounting on election, the United States Embassy in Nigeria says we are not taking sides in Nigeria's election. We do not support any party or candidate. We support a level playing field and the democratic process. On Monday, the Buhari chairman campaign organization has said that the statement of the United States envoy indicated that he was supporting a political party. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari, on his 34th and 35th state campaign shuttle, visited Bayelsa and Rivers yesterday. He told traditional rulers at Yenagoa and Port Harcourt that I am all out for free and fair, credible election. The INEC knows my stand on this. Under this leadership, nobody will be allowed to intimidate others or other citizens. He said nobody will be allowed to snatch ballot boxes and run away with them. The president said the introduction of the PVC and card readers made sure our votes counted in 2015, and votes of Nigerians will also count in 2019. At Bayelsa, the chairman of the Bayelsa Traditional Council, King Alfred Yeti Spiv, commended infrastructural development and said the state deserves more. The King Jaja of Opobo, who is the head of the Traditional Council in the Rivers at Port Harcourt, appealed to the president for security agents to remain non-partisan and neutral during the election. Sadly, 14 persons are reported to have died in the stampede that ensued at the Adukia Mesemaka Stadium in Port Harcourt. 8 others were said to have been injured. The president has expressed grave sadness that persons who show love to the party they love have had to die in avoidable circumstances. You recall that 8 persons died too in the stampede during the APC rally in Taraba, in PDP rally in Kano. The crowd was so huge that the presidential candidate couldn't get to the podium. About 12 persons were ferried out of the Sani Abacha Stadium because they had collapsed. So there's a challenge with crowd control.
You know, if I may come in, the incident in Port Harcourt, especially with that of Adukia Mesemaka Stadium, you know, it happens. I remember some time ago, the same incident, you know, happened where a lot of people, died. And that's because if there is an event and the gates, because there are quite a number of, entry gates, are flung open while you allow people to come in, and then when it's time to get out, you now lock the other gates and allow just one entrance. So that was bound to happen if you did that. And several times people have talked about this, the need for you to fling the gates wide open so that people can have access, to leave the place.
Usually you close the gates to check so that all the required elements do not come in. But at the end of the ceremony, you should leave all gates to open so that there are several avenues for people to exit.
Precisely.
Therefore, it reduces the pressure to rush to exit. Let's go back to the campaign trail.
You made a very important point with regard to crowd control and management. Fine, I mean, the optics of having the huge crowds and rallies is understandable. A candidate who wants to be seen that we've been able to attract such a huge crowd. But when you have incidents like this happening, it isn't just sufficient to say, look, condolence messages have been issued. There ought to be an investigation. Who was supposed to have opened those gates? Who shut those gates at the material time when the gates were ordinarily supposed to have been flung open? I mean, it's simple. You know what used to happen at football matches? Before football governing bodies now took a decision as to how to properly manage the crowd. Usually, in a stadium, they don't all get in at the same time. And when they are going out, of course, it's usually a surge. You see a sea of heads just moving almost like a river. So when you get there and the gates are closed, of course, those who are behind wouldn't know, and those who are in front get crushed by the gate, and people get trampled upon, and the weakest, unfortunately, lose their lives in such circumstances. So the critical thing is an inquiry into what happened. Who were the managers of those facilities, wherever this incident had occurred in the past? And what do you do? We also saw what happened in Abuja. I mean, you cannot say, most importantly, is what have the authorities done? Has any person been picked up? Has any person been arrested? People couldn't just be hurling missiles or hurling stones and then you say, oh, it was all in the course of protest or agitation. There were live pictures from that event.
Yes.
So have they studied this to know where a stone came from or where a missile came from? That is the way you can ensure that going forward there's deterrence. Otherwise, somebody else wakes up tomorrow and says, look, let's go and do it.
You said 4 persons were arrested. Maybe many more will have been arrested in the incidents in Abeokuta. Meanwhile, at the campaign train at the Tafawa Balewa Square, the People's Democratic Party candidate Atiku Abubakar says that adequate security, job and a turnaround of the economy will be provided if he is elected. The party chairman, which is Sekondo, says his party will return Nigeria to the path of economic development and security. Governorship candidate Jimmy Agbaje urged Nigerians to troop out on Saturday to vote for the PDP. But the Social Democratic Party is facing serious challenges. The party has expelled one of his contending presidential candidates and suspended the other. Director of Publicity Yemi Akimbode, who announced it to journalists, said the National Working Committee, after his meeting, has expelled Professor Jerry Ghana for anti-party activities, while also suspending Donald Dude for disobedience of the party. It may be recalled that Donald Dude, in fact, appeared on a debate for the Social Democratic Party last Saturday. Last week, it may be recalled, a faction of the party had declared support for the APC candidate, and early this week, another faction declared its support for the PDP presidential candidate. Meanwhile, at the Supreme Court, it has dismissed the appeal filed by the APC against barring it from conducting further primaries. The dismissal have foreclosed any chance of the APC fielding candidates in the 2019 general elections. The leadership reports that so far APC will have to lose 50 elective positions, 32 House of Assembly positions to contest, 13 House of Representative positions, 3 senatorial tickets, 1 governorship, and 1 deputy governorship seat.
All right. Kingsley, you have anything to
Okay,
let's take a look at the Daily Trust newspaper. And I'd just like to begin just a little below the nameplate. APC hosts mega rally today in Abuja, vows to punish Amoso and others. That's a rider, and the details of that, it's on page 13. Now, on the other side of the paper, lack of quorum stalls Onagan's case at appeal court. You can also read it up on page 6. But the headliner, Buhari Atiku sign accord on polls outcome today. And the writer there says Bill Clinton to speak with candidates also this week. And let's again move down, still talking about the elections on Saturday. Air Force begins airlift of electoral materials, and you can see the picture there. Electoral material has been loaded into a Nigerian Air Force aircraft at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, for onward distribution across the country for Saturday's election. Of course, the Air Force has said the exercise began on Monday. You can see the details of that story on page 4. Ex-SGF Babachir Lawal remanded in EFCC custody, trending, and GDP grew by 2.38% in fourth quarter 2018, and that's according to the NBS. And I just like to go a little into the paper just before Kingsley comes in with the other paper, and there's some 2 stories I'd like Bayo to also respond to. One is that NIMET, and this is on page 4 of Daily Trust, NIMET predicts flight cancellation over dusty weather, and it says that the dust haze across the country has dropped to visibility to less than 1,000 meters, and in the northeastern part of the country, visibility has dropped to as low as 200 meters. And there's another disturbing story. I just wanted to quickly get it. I can't find it, but I'll get it as soon as Kingsley is done with it.
Oh, I think I'm through with the headlines I have.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, Bayo. It's about the setup, a committee that has been set up by the Ministry of Education to look into the allegations of sodomy in a particular school in
School
Kuje.
for the deaf at Kuje. Yeah, that is a very serious allegation, and the ministry has set up a committee to look into it. There are allegations of sodomy and some element of cannibalism. You know, these are school for the deaf, and it's serious because some allegations are that students are chained with,
and forced to eat human flesh,
sometimes
and
even drugged and sodomized. So it's very serious, and the Ministry of Education is taking a critical look at it. But this other story published by Leadership is what I want to draw your attention to, Kingsley and Claire. The headline is ONU dumps APC for PDP. And the report later on indicated it was Chief Okorie Onu that has left the APC for PDP. Now, at a training workshop, this issue came up. If you recall, the penultimate week, there was a report that Obasanjo campaigns for Buhari in the US. And we were arguing that a headline is supposed to sum up the truth and the element of the body of the story. But when you cast a headline that mislead the reader, then it is bad journalism. However, some editors there came up with the argument that only whether it is the Minister Onu or his brother Korie Onu, it is still Mr. Onu that is campaign. So in fact, the story is correct.
So what is bad journalism?
Kinsley.
Actually, it's referred to as yellow journalism, and it's usually associated with tabloids. These rag sheets or backstreet newspapers that will cast such headlines, usually to attract attention. If you recall, when we used to have afternoon papers.
Yes.
Afternoon papers. We had them in Lagos,
Evening Times.
Evening Times, Guardian Express, you have all kinds of headlines. They will just write something about, Babangida arrested at Yola.
And you found that it's a different...
Babangida, they already military say Babangida arrested at Yola. By the time you are reading the story, they will not tell you one Jamiu Babangida, who is from this. But his name is Babangida. So it's yellow journalism. It's just screaming and all that. But it's irresponsible. And that's, of course, the reader, of course, has the discretion. There are certain persons who will fall for that.
But is it unprofessional?
It's yellow journalism. These are fringe elements, yes. Actually. These are fringe elements, yes.
You fool a reader once, you won't fool him the next time.
That's right. And then the market will discipline you.
Yes.
That's right. So,
all right, Bayo, I'm afraid that's the much we have time for today. I'm sure we've overshot our time anyway. So we'll see you tomorrow.
Tomorrow will be another day. Thank you.
All right. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we're counting down again to 2019 general elections. That's, of course, in less than 3 days from now.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
Under no conditions whatsoever should we tolerate or excuse or justify hate speech or hateful conduct of any kind, especially where such is illegal.
There's no doubt that the resurgent push for separatism, as well as the rising cases of ethnic and religious disharmony, are all traceable to the growing phenomenon of hate speech.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
We, the Nigerian youth, have resolved to stand with you, Baba, in the next level. We recognize your commitment to create jobs and empower the youth. Your strategic policies in the agri-sector has not only increased gainful employment and boosted production, but also saved the nation billions of dollars in foreign exchange. We are benefiting from your deployment of infrastructure across the country. With Abuja, Kaduna, and Lagos-Abeokuta rail lines completed, Itakpe-Ajaokuta-Warri rail line will soon be completed, while Lagos-Kano rail line is under construction. Additional 1,531 kilometers of roads have been completed and over 1,000 kilometers rehabilitated across the country. The second Niger bridge is on the way through Presidential Infrastructure Development Fund. Hydropower plants in Mambila, Zungeru, and many other power projects are under construction to add value to the improved power generation, transmission, and distribution in the country. Brokering and sustaining peace in the Niger Delta has helped stabilize the economy, thereby increasing investment in the oil and gas sector. We are coming with you to the next level to see the Empower scheme increase to 1.5 million beneficiaries and full implementation of the 10 billion Naira Youth Entrepreneurship Project. Nigerian youth, let's connect to the next level. This message is powered by Dr. Tony Oye, Director Youth Mobilization, APC Presidential Campaign Council.
Helen! Hey, where's your mom? Today is her toilet day. What? Helen! Toilet day? Tomorrow you're hosting a party and it's a matter of my reputation. Even if you spend your entire day cleaning with all this, it still won't be party ready. Impossible! Challenge? You take a Harpic 10X. Even if you use this solution 10 times, it won't give you the same cleaning like Harpic because its new thicker formulation sticks to the bowl better, giving you a sparkling clean toilet. Wow! New Harpic 10X gives me the freedom from toilet day.
Buhari, make we vote Buhari. Yes, so, yes, so. We don't do it. We don't see it. We did it again. Buhari, 219, 219. Make we vote Buhari. Make we vote. Make we vote Mama. Make we vote Baba. Make we vote Buhari. Make we vote Buhari. Yes, so, yes, so. We don't do it. We don't see it. No more killings again. No more bombers again.
Mass Medical Mission MMM is offering free services on a wide range of medical issues. Take advantage of these offers, especially by availing yourself of the National Cancer Prevention Program NCPP. You can do so by coming for our Wellness Wednesday program at 31 Bode Thomas Street, Surulere, Lagos every Wednesday from 7 a.m. You also have the opportunity of seeing the specialist and getting expert opinion on any health issues that may have been bothering you. Are you preparing to get married to your sweetheart? Then we have a pre-marital health program that will help you ensure that you start your married life on a healthy footing. Very important health screening and counseling will be made available for you and your partner. You can avail yourself of this opportunity by attending our pre-wedding Wednesday program from 7 a.m. For inquiries, send a mail to info@pinkcruise.org or log on to www.pinkcruise.org or call 0805-633-4288. Mission Pink Cruise, taking wellness to all.
All my fears are running.
What we are really cultivating here is a better future for all Nigerian women.
Think it's time I take
And it's not always easy.
play the hero for a change.
Panadol Extra relieves headache, backache, joint pain, toothache, and menstrual pain. The pain is worth it.
All right, you're welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now, to kickstart our conversation this morning, let's take this report from our correspondent in Kaduna, giving us a sense of the preparation for the elections beginning on Saturday. Here is Abdullahi Mohammed.
The preparation for the 2019 election, according to the electoral umpire, began immediately after the 2015 polls, and that translated into series of meetings, workshops with critical stakeholders and other strategies. Days to the decisive day, the Kaduna office of the commission has received substantial part of the materials needed for the election and are already being transported to the 23 local government areas of the state. The commission described the collection of PVCs in the state as impressive.
The number of registered voters in Kaduna, which incidentally is the third highest in the federation, stands at 3,932,492. And that includes the 3.4 or thereabouts that were used for the 2015 general election. And like I told you earlier, the distribution so far is very, very good. We have distributed by and large almost 75%, and the figure as it is now, I cannot give you an exact figure because it keeps on fluctuating, because every day people are coming trooping in, especially now. You know, Nigerians are fond of doing what they call the fire brigade approach.
Apart from the materials that are already being transported to the 23 local government areas across Kaduna State, the card reader machines are also on ground. You can see that they come in packs like these, and over there you can see they are being configured, batteries are put in, they are trying to put it in order for the elections proper. The top hierarchy of the security agencies in the state have also confirmed readiness to keep the peace before, during and after the election.
We will ensure a level playing ground and adequate security to you all. I want to emphasize that a violence-free election is a fundamental means to sustainable peace and development.
Any person or group of persons that are trying to sabotage this effort should look for another thing, not this election. We are ready for them. We are all out for that.
The voting populace is also optimistic that Nigeria will once again deliver a free and fair election in a peaceful atmosphere.
All right, and Kade Oladosun gives us an insight of the level of preparations from Ibadan.
The electoral umpire says the commission is putting all machinery in place to conduct credible, free and fair elections. In Oyo State, arrangement has been concluded about the distribution of both sensitive and non-sensitive election materials to various polling units where the February 16 presidential and National Assembly election will take place. Electorate also expressed confidence that their vote will count.
People are expecting that we mature over the years. Election problem, hooliganism, harassing, assault, and all whatnot will be reduced.
I expect them to act according to their post, so they should do the right thing at the right time.
The 2019 general elections, which commence on Saturday, February 16, will be conducted in 4,783 polling units and 6,390 voting points in Oyo State.
Those are the two reports we are taking in the meantime, one from Kaduna and then the other from Oyo State. Let's quickly introduce our guests now, but to begin discussing matters surrounding the conduct of the elections beginning on Saturday. First, we'd like to welcome Mr. Nick Dazang. He's the Administrative Secretary of INEC for the Federal Capital Territory. Nick, pleasure to have you with us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Also here with us in the studios is Dr. Ernest Ereke, is the Political Science Department at the University of Abuja. Dr. Ereke, pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, and joining us from our Ibadan studio is Mutiu Agboke, INEC Rec, Oyo State. Well, we're glad you could join us on the program, sir.
Very much. Good morning.
All right, and also from our Ibadan studio, we have Dr. Stephen Lafenwa, and he's also a political scientist from the University of Ibadan. Dr. Lafenwa, thank you for joining us.
Getting ready.
Yeah.
Okay, and from our Jos studios, we are being joined by Hussaini Halilu Pai, is the INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner for Plateau State. Mr. Pai, pleasure to have you with us on the program. Alhaji Hussaini, if you can hear me, let's begin with you. Of course, on the front pages of the papers this morning, and indeed since yesterday, there was a reported arson, a reported fire incident, nobody's sure whether it's an arson or otherwise, that occurred in Oka that led to, of course, the destruction of smart card readers, nearly 4,700 of them. Now, a few days earlier, there was also a fire incident in one of the local government areas where INEC has its materials. What is the situation now with regard to your investigation or evaluation of the extent of damage as a result of the fire incident in that local office of INEC in Plateau?
Good morning, Nigeria. Yesterday, we were at Compan, where we held a stakeholders meeting of all the critical stakeholders, and we have all agreed that there will be no need of postponing that election. That election will still hold because we have replaced all the materials that have been lost in that inferno. Fortunately, it was only the non-sensitive materials that were there at that time, because we have not yet even distributed to them the sensitive materials, which we intend to do as from tomorrow, along with other local government areas.
All right, let's bring in, of course, the INEC Rec in Oyo State, that's Mutiu Agboke. Sometime late last year, that's sometime in December, you were reported to have alerted of the huge number of uncollected PVCs from your end. Can you give us a sense and also evaluate the rate of preparedness? What is the state of the PVC collection? And are some people trying to buy them still?
Okay, thank you. We have started working on the various strategies to adopt in ensuring that our people collect their PVC. Don't forget that we needed to up our game in terms of the level of voter education and awareness for them to really know, because most people claim not to know that, as a matter of fact, they have to collect the card. So we went out en masse in ensuring that we create the awareness. Now, with this awareness, people have been coming to collect the cards. Of course, majority are claiming that their cards are not available. They went here, they did not see the card, and so on and so forth. Now, the issue of buying of voter cards, I'm sure you must be referring to a story that were reported in one of the national dailies. I never said I was under pressure to sell any cards, nor anybody making attempt to buy card from us. INEC doesn't sell card. Our duty is to produce card and ensure that people collect them. Now, as at the tail end of last year, we are close to over 1 million. But as I speak to you now, with the 2 or 3 days extension INEC added to the collection time, we now have, as at yesterday, we have 786,294 PVC uncollected. And all these cards, as a matter of fact, will be retrieved back to the state office for on-one transmission to CBN for proper custody. With regards to the preparation, we are ready. Number one preparation that we started with was engagement with our stakeholders. Don't forget, the INEC has 2 major documents of program of action and also the other document that also allows us to engage with our stakeholders. The bottom line of this document is that we must engage our stakeholders. And we have been engaging them. I've been to churches, I've been to mosques, I've been to markets, we have gone on the streets. We have visited virtually all the tertiary institutions in Oyo State. Our traditional rulers, we have engaged them. We have made people know that election is coming. That is one. Having done that, we now started following our timetable. Don't forget that in Oyo State, we have 52 political parties out of 91 that are viable, in existence in Oyo State. And one way or the other, they conducted primaries. Candidates emerged through the primaries, and we now have our finalists. In Oyo State, 42 persons will vie for the office of governorship. For the Senate, we have 60 of them. For House of Reps, we have 202. For House of Assembly, we have 659. Again, out of these 42, 6 of them are female candidates of various political parties. So preparation has been ongoing. We have received a number of non-sensitive materials. As I speak to you now, we have received large number of our sensitive materials, which of course are in the custody of the CBN. I'm sure by early this morning, maybe the final consignment will arrive. Our smart card reader in Oyo State, we have 6,000, we require 6,390 smart card reader. But we have in excess, we have 7,336. In other words, we have more than what we require, such that we can fall on any of them if there's any malfunctioning of the smart card reader. But let us note this. With the incident in Anambra State, we must rescue the situation because it's an emergency situation. So out of the backups that we have, 702 of them, we are going to, make half of them available to Anambra, state, so that, the commission is now doing a general mop-up so that they can be able to conduct the election that we are talking about. In Oyo State, we have engaged the security agencies. Of course, we have a new commissioner of police. We held our interagency consultative committee on election security yesterday. He has given his words. The security are already on ground. Because of the incident we have seen in Plateau, because of the incident we have seen in Anambra, we have engaged them to ensure that our facilities are properly protected. And I speak to you now, the Agodi office of INEC is properly protected with mobile police personnel. So, for the purpose of 2019, we are ready. We engage our stakeholders. IPAC is the umbrella body of all political parties. The National Orientation Agency is the one that is helping us to spread the gospel, and we are fully on ground. The atmosphere is cool and calm. Everybody is anxious to vote during this election. And we have told them, no PVC, no voting. The era of, the incident form is gone for good. If you do not come to the voting point or the polling unit with your PVC, just go home. No special person, no special consideration. On election day, the IGP has told us, we had engagement with him 2 weeks ago. He has told us it's going to be total restriction. No first-class person movement. Everybody must obey the rules and regulations. Oyo State is calm. Everybody is anxious. Nobody should allow himself to be used for thuggery and for hooliganism in this election.
Thank you very much. Kisley, I know you want to...
All right. No, well, it's virtually exhausted. Well, I'm sure he has a lot more to say, but let's come to Nick Dazan, who is the Admin Secretary of INEC for the Federal Capital Territory. How ready is INEC FCT for the elections?
Well, I would say that like Shakespeare, our legends are brimful and our cause is ripe. We have received not less than 42 different materials, non-sensitive for the conduct of the elections. And if you care, I may mention some of them. We have received all the EC1, EC25, EC40, EC25, EC50, EC60 series forms. We have received ballot boxes, cubicles, gensets, mats. In fact, we just need 13,000 mats for our racks, that is registration area centers. We have received 13,000 and more. In fact, we have more than 20,000 mats. We have received other categories of materials such as scissors, indelible marker, lamps, election sticker, ballot box stickers, masking tapes, the stamps that will be used by the presiding officers, the collation officers, the returning officers, and we've concluded all series of trainings. As a matter of fact, as at last week, we had trained all the supervisory presiding officers, the presiding officers, the assistant presiding officers, and we climaxed this training yesterday with the training of the collation and returning officers at the University of Abuja.
Do you also have card readers in excess in case of any?
Yes. What the commission does is that it normally provides for redundancies, malfunctionings, and so on. Like my rec, Oyo said, because of the unfortunate incident in Anambra, the commission is mopping up some of these excesses, and we are also sending our staff from different locations to reconfigure the smart card readers and to enhance them. As you've heard, we are not going to use incident forms for these elections, and it is because we were able to, enhance these card readers using a software that will make it, faster, quicker to authenticate and verify voters before they vote. So to that extent, I think that in FCT, we are good to go.
Well, there were frequent complaints about inability to collect PVCs by those who had registered in the past. What is the status as at close of collection of PVCs on Monday?
Well, as at the time we closed, there were a few persons who complained that they had not received these cards. And unfortunately, the more cards came as we were about to close. And because we had a deadline, we now had to keep these cards in the stores. But most of the transfers that we did, because most of the people affected were those who transferred their registrations from other areas. You know, the transfers came in late, but as many people as possible were able to, collect these cards. And as we speak, we have registered not less than 70% collection of the PVCs in the FCT.
What numbers are we looking at if you say 70%? 70% of what?
Yes, we are looking at, we have 1,344,856 registered voters in the FCT. And so far, in fact, the figures I have are as at last week, we had distributed 884,287 of these permanent voter cards.
So which means about half a million, about half a million of them. Well, I mean, the critical fact is that 500,000 of those who registered in the FCT, assuming they are still resident in the FCT, might not be in a position to vote on Saturday.
No, I don't think the figure is as large as that. But, we, in time past, we've always had challenges with AMAC. Okay. The voter turnout is usually low, even when they collect the permanent voter cards. So we are not surprised that most of these cards were collected in the other area councils, while we normally witness larger turnouts on election day.
If this has been happening, is there any investigation to why people, really either collect and not turn up or don't come to collect in AMAC?
We commissioned a study on voter apathy, and the case of AMAC is peculiar in the sense that most people are complacent, they're indifferent to the elections, and most of the VIPs, particularly in the AMAC, hardly come out to vote. But when you go to the outskirts of AMAC, like Karishi, Jukwai, Nyanya, Karu, and so on, you see a large turnout. But where we have challenges are Asokoro, Metama, Usetu, and so on.
Could also be that those people maybe went to their areas where they registered.
Yes, also, most of the time they prefer to go and vote at home.
Okay. All right, just before we bring in our analysts, Dr. Ireke and Dr. Lafen, I'd like us to return to Jos. Yes. And get the resident electoral commissioner. Of course, we kicked off with you on the basis of the fire incident that occurred in your local office, in one of your local government areas. But overall, what is your level of preparedness? Are there any lingering concerns?
Actually, none. We have, to a very, very large extent, distributed all the non-sensitive materials to the 17 local government areas and 207 registration area centers in readiness for this election. What is important here is on the plateau, we all recall that there are some crises and therefore some IDP camps were created. And in order to ensure that we carry everybody along, we have actually identified amongst these IDP camps some 26 voting centers, where on the day of the election, there will be voting centers in these 26 areas within the 8 camps that we have on the plateau, largely of the local government and Bariki-Ladi local government. But we have also mobilized the NURTW and NATO to ensure that we have a smooth movement of personnel and materials to all the 2,631 polling units that we have. Also, we have been assured by the security to escort these materials from the headquarters here down to the polling unit level. And for the sensitive materials, tomorrow, Thursday, we are going to collect these sensitive materials of ballot papers and result sheets from the CBN to each of the 17 local government. Of course, we have also have to track all the vehicles that are carrying these sensitive materials to the local government. Also, from the local government on Friday, they are moving to the 207 registration area centers so that they will be closer to the polling units. So that on the day of the election on Saturday, we all move and commence the election as 8 o'clock, which is usually the commencement period.
Since you say that you have no lingering concerns, should we take it to mean that in terms of PVC collections, the Plateau State has recorded 100%?
Well, we have gone past 75%. Because as one of my colleagues they have said, some of these PVCs came at the time that the collection is being suspended. We have just a little above 100,000 that is left out of 512,532. 165,000 female have collected, 188,000 male have collected, giving us a total number of 353,390 out of 512,000. So you can see that we have gone past 75%.
All right, Mr. Husseini Pai, thank you very much. We'll return to you shortly in the course of this conversation. Now let's bring in our analyst, Dr. Ernest Ereke of the Department of Political Science, University of Abuja. Of course, you've listened to the administrators and managers of the election process. They talk about their level of preparedness, but overall, what's your assessment of the electioneering and therefore the immediate lead up to voting on Saturday?
Well, listening to the INEC officials, it seems that all seems to be well from what they have all said. The REC in Ibadan, the REC in Plateau, and the admin sec here. And also, when you listen to the INEC chairman, it seems that all is well and INEC seems to be prepared for the elections. But then, of course, there are worrying signs, especially with the fire incidents we have been seeing in various of, at least there have been 3 fire incidents in 3 INEC offices. The first was, I think, in Abia State, then Plateau State and Anambra State, where about 4,695 smart card readers were burnt. That's a very large number. And INEC is now having to go around the states to mop up, excess smart card readers to support Anambra State. Now, the worry there is that when you have smart card readers failing in those states where they are mopping up these cards, these smart card readers, to show up the numbers in Anambra State, then what happens? If these cards, if the smart card readers fail in some of the areas that they are being mopped up now, it means we'll run into hitches and some challenges in those areas. But to a very large extent, on the part of the electoral management body, all seems to be well. But then, of course, on the part of the security agencies, it is reassuring that the IGP has said that security should be beefed up around various INEC offices so as to reduce or to arrest these fire incidents that have been occurring just few days to the, I mean, it is suspicious and it is worrying that just few days to the elections, INEC offices are being burnt down. We need to really interrogate and find out who really is behind, the burning down of INEC offices and the loss of, electoral materials. Because, like I said, if we mop up the extra that would have been used, in cases where they fail to support where they have been burnt down, it means we may likely run into hitches. So security agencies must also rise to the occasion, just as INEC has risen to the occasion as we run up to the election.
All right, let's bring in Dr. Stephen Lafenwa from University of Ibadan. Dr. Lafenwa, we would like you to share your own perspective here. Mopping up of smart cards, of course, given the incidents of the past few days, is it a wise decision? Is it a right step for INEC? And should we have any cause to worry about that?
I think, thank you very much for having me here. Yeah, one thing is this. I want to, first of all, commend INEC for being proactive. Because from what we have been hearing from politicians and from observers, it's like, some certain people want this election to be postponed. But INEC is determined. And that is why they are making all efforts so that we will not incur, losses, because as things stands now, you see that we are spending more on conducting what election. From 2015 to now, more than 167 elections have been conducted by the present INEC chairman, and that is giving us a lot of concern. When you talk about the mopping up of car readers to rescue the situation in Anambra, maybe peradventure in Plateau or Abia State, one thing that is very, very important is this. They are not going to mop up everything. And they still have, some backup. So what they should do now is that they make sure that those smart car readers that are available are working, perfectly. So that there will just be very, little whatever itches, here and there. And one thing that is very, very important for us to know is that we should not discourage INEC from moving forward with this election, because if you are saying that okay, if there's going to be problem with mopping up of smart car readers from one area to the other, it may create some problem or challenges for those areas where they are mopping them up from. We are trying to discourage them, because as far as I'm concerned, INEC is prepared. And one thing that is very, very, another thing that's very, very important is that we should, make sure that other people that are going to work with INEC, the hard dock staff, who are going to handle the smart car readers, know how to handle them. They have been trained, they have to be retrained, maybe a day before. Because one thing is this, I've participated in, what they call this, registration of voters. We see that some of the hard dock staff, they do not know how to handle even the system. So if they need to retrain them, that one is very, very important. Another thing that we need to do is that we have to, be very, cautious of the spreading of fake news, which may intimidate voters from coming out to vote, because there are some of them that now have so many there's misinformation, disinformation all around. They are even saying that they are not going to use, the thumbprint, what they call it. They don't allow voters, to use their thumb, to press, to thumbprint the ballot paper. That there's a particular finger, that they're going to use. We have to clear all this whatever insinuation from the voters, so that voters will not be discouraged. Another thing that we need to focus on has to do with the altercation between the two contending political parties, which may likely discourage. Today, if you read newspapers, You hear PDP accusing APC, APC accusing PDP that they want to scuttle the effort of INEC. So this, is discouraging because some voters may think that, oh, there is no, hope. They may lose confidence in the entire war system, and that may discourage them from coming out. And on the issue of security, we have to take it serious because too much security may scare people away. They have to relax. I'm not saying they should not guide, INEC properties and whatever, and also maintain what decorum before, during, and after the election. But one thing that is very, very important is that when we have too much presence of security agents, that may discourage the people from coming out because of our experience. The Ekiti experience, the Osun State experience, people, stayed at home. They didn't come out to vote because of the presence of security. So we should know how to, do that so that people will not be scared or be intimidated from coming out to vote. Another thing that is very, very important has to do with those people that are working, are working as ad hoc staff. They have to do it in such a way that they promote professionalism. They have to promote, fairness. They have to promote integrity, because it is not only INEC. Because when people talk about administration of election, they always focus on the EMB. That is the INEC, the area. But we also have a work to do as observers, as security personnel, as collation officer, as supervisory presiding officer, as presiding officers. All of us must make sure that the roles that we are going to play here, it will go a long way to consolidate, the gains of, that we have in 2015 world elections. Because we don't want our democracy to be trapped. We want our democracy to continue. And that is why we are calling on Nigerians that we should, come out not only to vote, but to monitor our votes and ensure that everything is done according to the rules and regulations laid down by.
Dr. Lafenwa, thank you very much. But we're still with you at Ibadan Network Center. It's precisely, to encourage voters to shun all kinds of destructive tendencies and publications and news that, of course, we're engaging in this. Voters are encouraged to come out on Saturday to exercise their franchise. Now, you touched on one aspect which we would like the resident electoral commissioner for your state, who is seated beside you there at our Ibadan studios, that's Mutiu Agboke, to take us through the how-to. When are you required to use your thumb, and when are you required to use your index finger?
Thank you, my brother. You see, I'm very happy. Dr. Lafenwa actually alluded to the ongoing trending fake news that we have all seen. More than 50 of my friends or colleagues have called me, both Nigeria and outside Nigeria, that why is INEC saying don't use your thumbprint? You see, fake news is a news that is not founded on any basis. Somebody will just throw it out. And it continues to trend, to trend, to trend. Before you know it, it becomes a reality. And that is why INEC in our policy, I told you, our strategic plan and our strategic program of action, these two documents talks about regular and continuous engagement. In other words, INEC must talk. We must continue to talk, explain. When we explain, people will understand our policies. We should not give room for people to assume, to deduce, to continue to presume what INEC is doing.
Mutiu Agboke, please just go straight to the point. We're talking about how to now. When do you use your thumb? Is it to be authenticated by the smart card reader? When you are voting, are you going to vote with your thumb or with your index finger? If you vote with your index finger, does it invalidate it? That's the issue that is on the table. Just go straight to it, please.
On election day, there is nowhere in our policy that we say, use your thumb, don't use your thumb. Use your index finger, don't use your index finger. The important thing is that either your thumb or your index finger, what we expect you on that day is that just dip the edge of your either thumb or your index finger on the ink and allow it to stand inside that box. Some people will just do like this. You know, when you ask somebody to put the thumb inside the ink, all they do is they do like this, as if they are fighting the paper. By the time you do that, the thing will smear into another box. Even the index box you are talking about, if you are not careful about it and you just press on it, it may smear into the other side. So whether index, whether your thumb, the two is allowed on election day. But what we are saying is that just use it inside the ink and put it inside the box. Put the thumb inside the ink, inside the box, so that it will not smear. Those are the things that INEC require from the voters.
We'd like us.
Claire,
Okay.
I would like Hussein Pai in Jos to also speak to this. I asked a question. Let me restate the question. For authentication by the smart card reader, which of your fingers, is it the thumb or the index finger? And then for voting, that's to say when you are given the ballot paper to vote, is it your thumb or is it your index finger?
Very much, very clearly that for the smart card reader to authenticate you, you have to use your thumb. It is the thumb that will be on the screen of the smart card reader. And for voting, as the Oyorek has said, you can use either the thumb or any of the fingers. Therefore, it is not compulsory that you must also thumbprint on the ballot paper with the thumb. You can also use any of your own fingers and it will catch. But for the smart card reader, you have to use your thumb.
And then, still with you before we come to Claire, before we come to Nick Dazang, on which of your fingers are the electoral officers, supposed to mark you with an indelible ink to indicate that you have voted, so that, if it is still possible, people don't go around trying to vote multiple times? Would it be on your thumb or any of your fingers as well? It
is on the cuticle of your right hand. The cuticle of your right hand. That's where they will apply the ink to show that really you have already been allowed to vote.
Okay, thank you. Let me quickly, still on this issue before we take on a short break, Mr. Dezang, would like you to clarify for us, because the voting advisory we see, yes, it's saying, look, vote with your index finger because of some reasons about size of the ballot
in
paper.
time past, what we used to do is that we designate certain fingers for certain elections. But now what we do is that once you come to the polling unit, you are accredited. You first of all, you are verified and authenticated using the smart card reader and taking your thumb. Then before you after voting, an ink is placed on the edge or cuticle of your finger. And the idea is to show that you voted. And because the ink is indelible and you can't come back again. They are just
eliminate
multiple voting. I think that is all there is to it. But now we are not insisting that you must use certain fingers as in the past.
For thumb printing,
yes,
if you say thumb printing, that's actually your thumb.
Yes,
but
yes.
for fingerprinting, for actual voting.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. We are taking a short break now. When we return, we'll still ask one or two questions pertaining to the voting process and procedure and how to identify what. That will be after this break.
The UN compound houses about 400 employees.
The building is not safe.
Nigerian capital Abuja is still reeling from Monday morning's rush hour bomb.
If the group did carry out the attack, it would be one of its worst.
2 suicide bombings in Nigeria. One targeted a convoy carrying Nigeria's main opposition leader.
A gun attack on the central mosque in North Nigeria's biggest city, Kano.
Your perfect family is under threat by germs. Infectious diseases are now the world's biggest killer of adults and children. These infectious diseases are caused by germs. They are everywhere. An average human being comes in contact with over 1 million germs daily in unclean water, dirty surfaces, in the toilets, on cuts and wounds, on your clothes. Germs can cause deadly diseases like typhoid, diarrhea, flu, and cough. To protect your family from germs, use the power of Dettol's One Capful for surface cleaning in your bathing water, in your laundry water, for first aid to protect your family from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Introducing Dettol Antiseptic Liquid in Sachet for only 40 naira.
Endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association.
A new edition of TV Guide is out with special focus on the role of the media in election coverage. Exclusive on the National Broadcasting Commission, its mandate as the sole regulator of Nigerian media. Dr. Toba Daba then and Ishak Modibo-Kawu now. This edition also features the king of stand-up comedy in Nigeria, Ali Baba. NTA standards to be ready for election transmission after decades of abandonment. Find out from the DG transactional elections in our political space. An evil wind that blows no good. DG, National Orientation Agency caution. TV Guide, your indispensable companion, x-rays the impact of social media on electioneering process as electorates present their expectations from incoming government. Meet some TV professionals behind the screen and other inspiring stories in sports, entertainment, and lots more. Grab a copy at the vendor near you or NTA stations nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
Over 1 trillion naira housing investment in just 3 years. Federal Ministry of Power, Works and Housing is sinking over 100 billion naira. Family Home Fund is investing over 500 billion naira. Federal Mortgage Bank Limited has invested billions of naira on housing finance. Federal Housing Authority is also spending billions of naira to house Nigerians. With a population of over 180 million Nigerians, housing development never got the desired attention until this time of President Muhammadu Buhari. While shanties and dilapidated buildings characterized Nigerian landscape in the past, the Buhari's government now is sinking billions of naira for inclusive housing for all Nigerians. For 16 years, the Federal Housing Authority had no single finance from the federal government, but within 3 years of President Buhari, the Federal Housing Authority is back on site, building houses for Nigerians. Supporting Mr. President is a support for more houses to Nigerians. Let's ensure continuity. Let's vote for the man who is doing it.
They are there at the crack of dawn. They are there busy preparing while we rise for our day. They are there silently guarding, waiting, listening and watching. They are there ready in the sky above. They are there in the blistering heat of the day and in the dead of night, willing, regardless and unrelenting in the defense of the sovereignty of our country. They are our first line of defense and our last. They are who have paid the ultimate price in defending us. They are fathers and uncles. They are mothers and sisters and girlfriends and boyfriends. They are brothers and cousins and best friends and neighbors. They are classmates, colleagues and citizens of this nation. They are our defenders and deserve our respect, our prayers, our thoughts. Nigeria, please support our armed forces.
All right, you're welcome back, and good morning, Nigeria, still on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Just before we went on that short break, and now before we take viewers' comments by way of tweets, let's bring in Dr. Ernest Ereke again to express his own views with regard to the procedures that have been explained by the INEC officials on voting day.
Well, I think it is important that we clarify so that we don't confuse voters on the day of the election. I recall that at the registration point, all 10 fingers were captured by the registration officers. And the information we have from INEC is that when you go for accreditation, any of your fingers, any of the 10 fingers can be used for accreditation. However, people are being advised that when you collect the ballot paper, you should be careful the way you thumbprint so that you don't spill over, it doesn't spill over into another party that you didn't intend to vote for. So I think that is what we should be telling the voters, so that when you get there, you can use any of your 10 fingers, but when you collect for accreditation, now after accreditation, when you collect the ballot paper and you are about to print on the ballot paper for the party of your choice, you should be careful to not to allow the thumbprint, the fingerprint to cross over to another party. So if you feel that the smallest finger is the one that will do the job for you, if you feel that it is any of the fingers that will do the job for you, I think we should tell voters that you can use any of those fingers.
Actually, you are right. The idea is during the registration we captured all the 10 fingers, and therefore you are free to use any of them. But on election day, what we do is that before we commence the elections, our staff also explain the process to all the voters. The idea is we expect that some people would have forgotten all these procedures. So before you open the poll, the supervisory presiding officer will take the voters who have queued at the polling unit through the process before they start accreditation and then voting. So in addition to adverts that we place showing people how to vote, we'll also do that on election day. And on the eve of the elections too, at the registration area centers, we refresh the ad hoc staff because we believe that even though we give them adequate training, we train them for 3 days, and we dedicate 1 day to train them on the smart card reader. We believe that not all of them pay sufficient attention to the training. So what we also do is that at the registration area centers, and there are 62, for example, in Abuja, we will now put them through the process again. And in fact, before now, shortly before the training, what the commission did to check vote buying is to ensure that after you've been accredited and you are moving into the cubicle to vote, you will surrender your phone to the policeman, who is sitting by the cubicle. And after voting, you now come back, collect your phone and go.
That's right.
Yeah, I think it's very important that INEC takes this very, very seriously because there are so many messages out there on the social media, that probably would confuse the voter. So if you really tell your ad hoc staff, to take this message very seriously and enlighten the electorate, it will be very, very useful.
Just before we take the tweets, I'm just wondering, this is probably belated, but what is the nature of the instruction manual for the permanent or ad hoc staff of INEC? I'm wondering because you just mentioned off the cuff that some of them might have forgotten what they were put through in the course of their training. Is it possible to also have it in electronic format so that the thing is uploaded on their phones at any time? They're at home. Yes.
What we did for most of those we trained here is that we sent the guidelines and regulations and the manuals electronically to their mails, because for us in Abuja, all the core members we trained, and we trained 13,000 core members and another 5,000 ex-core members and students of tertiary institutions, making over 18,000. whereas all we need is 13,000. So what we did is that we put them through the manuals. We made sure each person we trained got a manual, and then there's also a synopsis,
graphic
yes,
representation
yes, of the procedure.
Yes.
But we are not resting on our oars. Like I said, on the eve of the election, we will take them through again, because in the past we had situations where people we thought we had sufficiently trained were found wanting on election day. So to make up for such deficiencies, what we do is that on the eve of the election, we put them through, and then on election day itself, the SPOs, the supervisory presiding officers, who have been trained for 3 days, most of whom have conducted elections before, will put, the voters who have queued through the process again.
All right. Well, Claire, it's also probably the case that those who are found wanting, that's to say electoral ad hoc staff who are found wanting, don't get to be denied their allowances. They get paid regardless. So maybe if there was some
sanction,
some sanction.
No, but you see,
it has to be made clear as part of the terms of contract.
Yes, in 2011, when we conducted the election, out of the over 500,000 co-members we used, we found only 20 wanting, and they were sanctioned.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes. So
okay, let's quickly take our tweets now, because we have a number of them. Let's first of all, Mike Anyakwo, this is your tweet. Nigerians are eagerly waiting to cast their votes in the coming 2019 general elections. It's no longer coming, it's here. INEC, on their part, has made necessary efforts to conduct a free and fair exercise. It is incumbent on the security agencies to see to orderliness of the exercise. Democracy is sweet and elections exciting.
Michael, the security agencies have a crucial role to play in this election and must stick to their action plan. Like they said earlier, no VIP should be escorted and politicians should not be allowed to go around with thugs. I think with this, we can curb the menace.
All right, and Dele Jack Solomon tweets, security conditions during and after election will greatly impact INEC's ability to ensure credible and well-executed polls. Therefore, it's imperative for all security agencies involved in the conduct to intensify efforts towards helping INEC to achieve this goal by checking or keeping surveillance on unscrupulous politicians and their supporters who might disrupt pre-election, pre- and post-election logistics or the voting process itself that might lead to violence across the country. All hands must be on deck.
Akeju Olagbaju, by now, well, the machinery to conduct the elections must have been put in place, and the only preparations left would be for the electorate themselves to, as it were, prepare their mind to vote wisely, peacefully, avoid violence, and shun trading of voter cards for money.
All right, Ibrahim Tudu tweets, can we say IDPs can comfortably participate in these elections? There seems to be no clear and elaborate provision by INEC on how IDPs will vote in states affected by banditry. What is the procedure? I thought the rec in Plateau did say something about how
I talked about IDP. We haven't touched on the procedure yet, so that's a topic, that's an idea we'll return to. Ashiru Mohammed tweets, now all stakeholders must play their role in ensuring the success of the elections. Security agencies should be prepared to tackle situations before, during, and after voting. In the end, let the wishes of the people be paramount so that the unity of the country can be consolidated.
Okay, Sunny Michael or Marco J. tweets, level of desperation cut across politicians and, of course, cause for concern. Though INEC seems to be technically ready for the election, how can they curb vote buying with some desperados, he says, already burning INEC's materials? It's so retrogressive how we're going.
Law Alpha-C, materials that will be used for the polls in difficult terrains such as riverine areas should leave for such places on time. Security agencies have enormous responsibility to checkmate the excesses of some desperate politicians who may want to tamper with the exercise.
All right, and Festus Akiboyewa tweets that INEC started preparation for this election by producing and rolling out the operational roadmap back in 2017 shows it focused on delivering free and fair election. The security agencies and other stakeholders must play their part to ensure every vote is secured and counts.
All right, Mike Ayako again. Elections 2019, he writes. Now the D-Day is here with us. Congratulations to all Nigerians. Kudos to INEC, Nigerian journalists, media houses, security agents, judiciary, civil rights, etc. Let's tell the whole world that we have come of age. Let's tell them we are politically mature. That will be after the fact.
All right, yes, and again, Dele tweets second one. Thank you for revisiting this crucial topic of discourse as an international media outfit with critical stake in the Nigerian project. Thank you. Regardless of ethnicity, religion, or socioeconomic status, there is the need for a comprehensive rethinking of Nigeria's governance architecture.
This is from Festus Akimboyewa, that INEC is bringing in EFCC, FIU, CBN, and ICPC into the 2019 election is a product of strategic thinking to curb electoral corruption. The agency should be commended for working with INEC to proactively pursue breaches of political election campaign finance. INEC should be commended also for working to improve the inclusiveness of our election.
All right. Okay. This one is Cure My Nation. That's the last one. And he tweets, I'm curious about fire outbreaks at different INEC offices in Nigeria. And he goes on to say that we urge our network providers to join hands with government in non-violence campaigns. I'd like to thank all of you for this tweet. Of course, you are all stakeholders in the Nigerian project. Keep them coming. We still have more time.
Very little time left. Well, let's quickly take on one or two aspects now. First, from our Ibadan Network Center. Direct, that's Mutiu Agboke. Two issues here. One has to do with the ballot boxes. There are three offices that will be voted for on Saturday. That's the 16th. There's the President, there's the Senate, and there's the House of Reps. In 2015, there were different boxes in terms of color for the three elections. Are the boxes different this time? That's one. And secondly, the IDPs the question about the IDPs that has been raised. How will bona fide IDPs be identified? Must they come with the PVC? And how will they be handled, by the way, in the course of accreditation and voting?
Yeah, thank you. This election that we are going into, we have three different boxes. The first one is the green color, the second one is the black color, and the third one is the red color. The green color is for House of Representatives. The black color is meant for Senate and House of Assembly, while the red is for presidential and governorship.
Can you take that again? Can you take that again, please?
Now. Well, Mutiu Agboke, just I said specific for the 16th. Give us again the colors. I know you talked about black, green, and red. Presidential election is red. That correct?
It's red color. You are correct.
Election. Then Senate. What is the color of the box?
It's black. And House of Assembly. And House of Assembly.
House of Reps this weekend. House of Assembly is on the 2nd of March.
So for green color, it's for House of Representatives.
Hussaini Pai in Jos, give us a sense of what is required of the IDPs to participate in the election on Saturday. Would they be required to have their PVCs? And what will be the procedure?
Thank you very much. Actually, they must have their PVCs because we have identified these camps since the time of registration. Those of them that time that either have lost their PVCs or they did not have it, we have registered them and produced PVCs for them. Also, we have identified them according to their polling units in their original settlement before the crisis that made them to gather at the IDP camp. So in Plateau State, we have 8 of these IDP camps. 2 in Riom local government, and 8 in Barikiladi local government. So we have now given each of them, those that were registered either during this continuous voter registration or had their own permanent voters cards. We now have 26 of these voting centers spread across these IDP camps that I have mentioned to you. So on the day of the election, which is Saturday 16th, INEC is allocating ballot boxes and full-fledged officials as if it was a polling, it's going to be a polling unit. Those who belong to that polling unit that has been configured with our smart card reader will now present their permanent voters cards and go through the normal process as if it was in any other polling unit, and they will be allowed to do their own voting without necessarily going back to their original settlements. That means there is going to be voting at the IDP camps.
Mr. Dezang, can you also give us, enlighten us about the procedure for the IDPs here within the FCT, and how many ballot papers will be handed over to the voter at a time?
Well, it's the same template we are using for the IDP camps from Borno, Adamawa, Yobe, and so on. And it's a template we used in 2015. Luckily enough for us, in most of these camps, the people are settled according to their communities, the wards. So it's easy to organize them on polling unit basis. Most of the PVCs have codes that identify your polling unit. So it's easy to organize them along those polling units. And then on election day, you now call them to queue up according to those polling units in the IDP camps. Okay. We're using the same template as we did in 2015. Okay. As to the ballot you give the voter on that day, you give him one ballot paper which has all the parties contesting and their logos.
For the different posts, like for the presidency, for the Senate, for the House of Reps?
No, we have different ballots. What I mean is that on election day, you are given one single ballot.
Okay.
You now move into the cubicle and then you vote for the candidate or party of your choice. You now fold it. And then after folding it, you stretch it because the size of the ballot is bigger than what we used before. And even though we have procured more boxes, if it is not folded and stretched, it will occupy more space, and therefore you need to use as many ballot boxes as possible. So that's the procedure.
Do you have all the positions represented in one ballot?
What Claire is asking, what Claire is asking, a potential voter has been accredited.
Yes.
The smart card reader has cleared him or her. So, how many ballot papers will he or she receive? Because there are 3 elections on Saturday.
That means you receive 3. Yeah. One for president, one for Senate, one for House of Representatives.
All right.
And then, since the 3 elections have different boxes, you now put the ballots according to the color. If it's presidential, red. If it's Senate, black. If it's House of Reps, green.
All right, let's go to Ibadan. Dr. Lafenwa, we would like you to be very brief with this response. How critical is the role of security agencies, of course, during and after these elections?
Yeah, the security, in fact, they are the law enforcement agents. And the one thing that we need to tell them is that they should be loyal to the country, not to the office holders. Because when you talk about election malpractices, these are the people that can prosecute our offenders in the court. And it's very, very important for them to ensure that they are they are friendly to the people. They show, people, they show enthusiasm on that day, like we experienced during the Osun State election. They don't intimidate people, they don't harass anybody, and allow them to come and vote and maintain their decorum. But there is an issue that I need to, talk about, because we need to clear it. If peradventure an illiterate, voter put, ballot meant for presidential election in that of the Senate, would they count that one as a void vote or what? Because it always generates a crisis, when they are trying to collate the result at the polling booth. And secondly, the number of voting points. Some politicians are now insinuating that that's another method of rigging the election by INEC, that they have not told them the number of additional voting points that they need to put their party agents. So we need clarification on this, so that people will not be saying that, oh, they are trying to use another method to rig the election. Thank you very much.
Dr. Lafenwa, thanks a lot. Nick, very quickly.
Thank you.
Yes.
The voting points, and in the case of Abuja, voting point settlements are created to decongest the polling units. As we all know, since 1996, we have not created any new polling units. And there are settlements, for example, in Abuja, that were non-existent in 1996. There are cities, Kaduna, Kano, Plateau, where because of one crisis or the other, people have moved, and certain places are more congested than they were before. So people have moved to these places, and to make it possible for them to vote, you must create these voting points. Now, it is not true that INEC has not put through these political parties or informed them about these voting points. We did that in all the stakeholder fora that we organized across the country.
All right. Okay. Now, what about misplacement of a ballot paper in a wrong box?
Well, during the sorting, when you are sorting and you come across a ballot that belongs to some other box, you will not take it there, because this sorting is going to be done in the full glare of the agents, the media, observers, and so on. So there's no hanky-panky.
So misplacement of a ballot paper in a wrong box does not invalidate it.
It does not invalidate it.
On that note, we'd like to thank you, Nick Dazang. Nick Dazang is the Administrative Secretary of INEC for the Federal Capital Territory. Thank you for being with us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Having me.
All right, we'd also like to appreciate Dr. Ernest Ireke of Political Science Department. Dr. Ireke, thank you. Good to have you with us. Mitu Agboke, INEC Rec, Oyo State, many thanks to you. And of course, Dr. Stephen Lafenwa, Political Scientist, University of Ibadan. We appreciate both of you for joining us. Husseini Halilupai, INEC Rec, Plateau State. Thank you very much, sir, and have a pleasant day. All right, this is Good Morning Nigeria. Let's take sports now.
The Flying Eagles